All right. Welcome to North Georgia Advocate podcast number 23. We're here with Steve Gailey, who was a candidate for District 3 in the primary election this last week. And he ended up not making it in the runoff by 49 votes. And, you know, looking back at all the years that I voted, I'm 54, fishing to be 54, and I can't recall a district that had that close from first to third in any type. I mean, you're talking just a few votes here and there, and each district would have turned the whole thing up on its head, from Tyler winning to Shannon winning, or to you even winning. What's your thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I knew that this is going to be a close race, and I kind of felt like I was the third man, all the way along. Chris, you and I talked a little bit about it. I think we had three extremely good candidates running, and I got a lot of respect, really for both of them. I think, to just be honest with you, Tyler got out and really worked from everything that I could see, from walking neighborhoods and talking to people and getting people's opinion. I think that really helped him from a standpoint of that. I'm going to be 69 in Thursday. And this old man don't walk neighborhoods as good back when he was 45 years old and ran the first time.
Right.
The district has changed. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but I'm not just so disappointed that I would go to the old term, what they call goat rock.
Right.
That's where old defeated politicians go and cry for 2 weeks. So I'm not that way. But when I look at the race and I look at it in general, Tyler and I had a tremendous amount of communication over the last 3 months. We talked probably an average minimum of 2 times a week about things. I gave him advice. He gave me advice. And I think that he really gets it. He gets what's going on. And I had very little conversation with Shannon. It started out, we were talking at first, but then all of a sudden it just kind of stopped. I don't know the reasoning behind that or anything, because I wanted to get to know both of these gentlemen. And I got to know Tyler very well. As far as our beliefs of what's going on in the county and everything, I feel like we pretty much, I don't think we ever disagreed on anything. We talked it through. Tyler's smart enough to understand that you're not going to stop growth. And I think his vision is somewhat like mine is from the standpoint that especially on this high density residential that's going on, especially over in East Hall area, I'm not in favor of that. He's not in favor of that. You've got to get back to some kind of realization of what you can work with and what you can't. And he understands that, because he's a property rights advocate just like I am. He is not anti-growth, because you're not going to stop the growth, but you got to manage it better.
Right.
And I think he understands the sewer situation that we're dealing with. We purchased that sewer. It was never intended to go to residential growth. I've talked to 2 previous commissioners that served after I did, and they said the very same thing. It was never intended to go to residential growth. So I think he understands the importance of what the cost of it is if we've got to purchase more also. So, in all regard, I'm going to get behind Tyler in this race, and it's nothing against Shannon. It's just that I feel like that he's done his homework.
Right.
I feel like I somewhat feel like he's forgotten more than Shannon and I know what's going on in the county government right now.
Right.
He's been to a tremendous amount of meetings. He's done his homework, and I feel like he's really the most qualified.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. I mean, that guy, he knows that UDC and the comprehensive plan better than probably the commissioners that are sitting on the
Well, I think he definitely understands it better than our staff does.
You're right.
That we have in the county.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Steve. I feel like he understands it better than our staff does, and then he's already proactively working on the revisions to the UDC right now and trying to understand what needs to change in the revisions and what kind of suggestions we need to be giving out. Because he
I mean, I
messaged
know
me
that.
asking me about the data centers specifically because I got 2 rezonings done for data centers, one in Gainesville, one in Forsyth County, and the current wording, I think it mentions like a medium sized data center, which is a minimum of 20,000 square feet up to 100,000 square feet. So we got approvals for 1,800 square feet. It's a different type of data center, but it's still a data center. So, so is the minimum requirement because of that only going to be 20,000? So I think he caught that, and he's supposed to be working on trying to figure that out. And
Well, I think we got to understand. It's like in the comments that I made with the questions asked about this, is that things are evolving and changing with data centers every day as far as power usage, water usage. There's all kinds of things changing. I think everything goes through a learning curve. But that seems to me to be the most biggest thing that people are concerned with. They don't, and I really can't see what a data center's, it's not going to add traffic to the roads. It's not going to do things like this. There's a lot of things it's not going to do. I don't agree with giving the tax abatements and things along that nature. I personally don't. I don't believe in that in any general regard.
Right.
So, that's we're trying to get the tax base up on the commercial side and business side, and not rely on the residential tax base.
Yeah, and that's the only way you're going to get it to lower or stay steady is to get more commercial.
Well, I think there's still a lot of questions not answered, concerning that. I just know it's pretty much got, it seems to be the whole country's in an uproar over what's going on with the data centers.
Well, yeah, they're fed these, it's all generated from, they're being fed horror stories from the initial data centers that were built, and those were concerns of those things. But you're talking, this is 15, 20 years down the line now.
Yeah, but I can't see a data center using 1 million gallons of water a day, not even anywhere fractional cost to that with the closed loop systems they have and the other systems they have out there available for. Now, the power consumption is one thing, and of course, we're hearing from the power suppliers that it's not going to have any effect. But then you read a news article about, I can't remember where it happened, at Tahoe, where this evidently small power company is going to shut off the residential. Well, somebody's got to come back in and pick that up. Who's supplying the small power company that they can make a decision to say, hey, we're going to cut off 46,000 people's power because we want to go to the data center with it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That happened in Lake Tahoe, somewhere around there.
So there's a lot of issues going on with that.
And the one thing about the 1 million gallons, even if it was so, people don't understand when they open the dam, they let over 1 million gallons an hour out every hour that the Beaufort Dam's open. So
and a lot of that water's going down to, Atlanta relies on that. The municipalities, big municipalities south of us rely on that.
Right.
I mean, the point in case is I think that technology is going to evolve a lot in the next 2 or 3 years to where this might be a moot conversation in 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah. Well, you see now, and Veryl and I have talked about this, a lot of these places are building their own power stations now.
Yes.
The data centers, and that would probably, that could be something they could put in the UDC, help. Build your own power source.
They got that in the new UDC for on-site power generation.
Well, good. I mean, that's a great thing. And I think that takes it out of the, that should take it out of the conversation now,
Well, you got Erin Brockovic involved now. She's getting involved with things. I read an article this morning on that. And I mean, we just don't know enough about anything, but I do know what comes with high density residential growth. And it's not good. That's my biggest main concern. during this whole campaign that I ran was we had to get in control of that.
Well, what happens, Steve, if, like, say they get in and they continue the growth up 365? What's the next options? Is the city of Gainesville going to double the fees to get more sewer, or we're going to have to go to White?
Well, if we got, well, I'll assure you, if we have to buy another, we're not going to get it for $14 a gallon. Let's put it that way. Probably more like $38 a gallon.
Well, that's just upsetting.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. These tap fees that they're charging on the residential growth is they got to make sure that we're recouping the initial cost. And I'm not talking about the cost of just the cost of the sewer capacity. I'm talking about the cost of the lines, the feeder lines and everything.
Right.
So when I went back and did an analysis on that, I think we're probably a good $10,000 short of what we should be charging for a residential tap fee. I mean, I want to see it go back to where 2 units per acre density wise in,
yeah.
in
And
the
I think
residential.
Tyler's even mentioned that as well. That's one thing that he's high on. I don't want to speak for him.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you're not going to stop the growth. And yeah, you're going to have people not in my backyard stuff and everything. I dealt with that the first, the 8 years I served on the commission before. Primarily over in the area where Tyler and I live, you're looking at acre lots, with septic and water, and up to an acre and a half with well and septic on the same piece of property. There's still a lot of land over here that could develop in this area, that could develop into, subdivisions. The land cost is driven from what people are being told from real estate people and everything. They're selling the property. Well, the more houses they can get on the property, the more money you're going to get for your land.
Right.
So I think that's the driving force, all along. I mean, but we have not gained anything percentage wise as the ratio between residential growth and industrial, commercial, business type growth. We're not. We need to be at least 40% business growth to, in the percentile to even out the tax base to where it needs to be.
Right. Now, what's the key for Tyler to pull this off? I mean, he's in the lead now by 3 percentage points, which is not a lot. What's the key for him to maintain that lead? And we all know voter turnout's the main key in the.
Well, that's going to be the biggest thing. And I don't see probably really maybe 12% coming out in this runoff. It's getting your people that voted for you back out there again. And that's what you're going to have to do. It's kind of like beating the doors all over again. I think we can all understand that flyers and text messages on phones and things is not really that effective way of campaigning.
Right.
I think the majority, most 95% of people I talk to don't even look at them. They just go to the trash can. The post office, of course, has a trash can in there because this time of year they'll be full of flyers all the time.
Right.
But I think if he runs the same campaign that he's ran and gets to the people, he should be successful.
I believe so as well. And I've heard from several older people, not even just boomers, but I'm talking Gen X people, that they didn't vote for some candidates because when they met them in face to face, they didn't specifically ask for their vote. And, and that's not how the younger generation kind of really looks at it. They're just saying, look, we're throwing our stuff out there. I'm personable to you. We had a good conversation. They don't come out and say, I would love to have your vote. They just take it more as an implied thing. Right.
And that's if you're going to meet somebody, if you're going to meet them face to face, you need to say, hey, I appreciate it if you vote for me. Right. And that's a key point of what you have to do. This election, was probably the weirdest election I've ever ran from the standpoint of how you ran the election. word of mouth. I mean, I had name recognition. I had a little bit of an advantage over both of the candidates I ran against. Then poor old Tyler got hit with that thing that he couldn't control from the PAC people, didn't have anything to do with it. And he did not authorize those flyers to go out for him and everything. And I think that's a shame that a PAC can do that to a candidate without them okaying it. I mean, I got 3 mailers. One didn't come to, well, the first 2 came Friday before the election on Tuesday. I got another one last Saturday, and I was telling Tyler about it. Well, I got another mailer. Well, the thing is that, when a candidate doesn't authorize that, because Tyler ran the same campaign I did, we stayed under the $2,500 expenditure and money raising scenario. Because I just don't think that money's really what wins the races. I think that you have to. And Tyler did the homework. He walked a lot of neighborhoods. I was impressed with how he did.
And you're dead on, because me and Vera looked at it. Shannon raised over $70,000. Spent 35, at minimum 35, just on the primary itself, and here Tyler is spending less than $2,500.
Yeah, and the thing is that that I think that's probably the largest amount of money that's ever been spent, I would think, in a district race, other than what Kathy has spent, or what I have no idea. I haven't looked at her campaign stuff.
She spent like 30 grand, but it was all in the last 2 or 3 weeks when she realized, hey, I got some competition down here. By God, I better step it up.
Oh yeah, I think so, definitely. And I'm all in for Mark down there. It's just simply from this fact and reason that we got to get, people say, well, he's going to be just like her and everything. I don't see that. What conversation I've had with him or anything like that. I think that he will do the right thing. The biggest thing we need on the commission is change. And we know we're going to have change with either Tyler or Shannon. But you got to understand, there's another scenario here that we have to be concerned with. Regardless of whoever wins the Republican primary, they could be facing an independent in November.
Right.
So that's another, scenario to look at. Gina has served on the planning commission for, I don't know, several years, I think. I mean, she was on there when Shelley got elected. Shelley took her off. Then Higgins appointed her. I think there's some baggage with her that could get back into the point of some of the other things that happened with the planning commission.
Right. I
haven't specifically pulled up her voting record on the planning commission, but there was a lot of things got approved. So it's going to be interesting to me. Is she going to look at the growth issues going on is the same way that I look at them, Tyler looked at them, and Shannon looks at them. So that's going to be a big if here, if she gets the signatures to qualify as an independent.
Well, then we got to look at, was she in on, how many of them illegal meetings was she in on?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
If any, I mean, that's something you're going to have to look at as well.
Well,
I mean,
the point in case is that, I don't really have any direct knowledge whether she was or not.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not, Gina seems like a nice person to me. She said things in the forum that we had with Jody that led me to believe that she kind of feels like Tyler and myself as to what we talked about in there, and especially and even Shannon, from what Shannon has commented on, how he feels about the growth issues that's happening in the area.
No doubt. And let's get back into District 1. And the main reason I'm behind Mark is not that I'm anti-Mark or for Mark. You got to break up what they call the three amigos. The Cooper, Stowe, and Powell are voting the same way every single time, 99% of the time. I think Kathy went rogue on a couple of votes just because she knew it was going to pass anyway. When the pool was voting a certain way, but you can't, if we don't get the change now, we may have 4 more years of that going.
Oh, I don't think there's going to be any doubt it could in 4 more years. And don't get me wrong, I've known Kathy. I like Kathy as a person, but it's time to move on. I think but the people are going to decide that. I was really surprised at the percentage of the votes that she got, and I think a lot of it's just people going to the poll that's not been involved in the process of what's going on down in South Hall. I'm not so sure that South Hall's already so sewed up with the rezonings that's been approved, out of the 10,000 we know that have been approved, that we don't know what they are right now and where they're at. And that's a question that I would have want answered before I would approve any additional high density growth down in that area. You got to understand, South Hall is transitioned to the point of obviously the fastest growing district in the county. And you can see that by how the area that's represented in that area is shrinking. Okay. Gainesville's, growth, Jeff's population has shrunk. So his area has shrunk, not his population has shrunk, it's grown, so his area shrinks. So that just makes District 3 get bigger and District 2 get bigger. Same amount of people, they try to do it. But I think a lot of people in South Hall were just, you go to the polls and hey, I've heard that name. And especially when you have the I beside your name, I think it's definitely,
right.
Definitely an advantage.
Well, and you look and it tells you how fractured they are too. Corey and Mark Fall ran, and Corey got almost 20% of the vote, and he spent less than $2,500 too. Corey was a good candidate. And Mark, I think the only difference between Mark and Corey was Mark goes to Free Chapel. He's got that whole church base behind him, and they trust him. And that's a lot of votes there too. So, but that's neither here nor there. But it does matter because that could be the swing vote between him and Kathy.
Yeah. And I don't see, I think it's very obvious to me. We call them the Three Amigos, which is kind of hilarious, but you definitely see those three making all the decisions is what we see right now in the commission, pretty much.
And even with my philosophy is with Mark, we don't know what we get.
No, we don't.
We know what we're getting with Kathy, and I think it's worth the gamble to put a wild card on there to see exactly what we get, because in 4 more years, it'll be easier to replace Mark than it will be a 4-term Kathy Cooper at that point.
Oh, definitely. I think we've got to give Mark the benefit out of the doubt. I think he's his own person. I think that he sees the uproar and things down in that area. Like I said, you're not going to change things overnight, but it's just not the growth issues that we got to be concerned with. We're sitting here dealing with a debacle on this courthouse deal that's going to cost the county millions of dollars, and the location they're looking at that is just ludicrous to me. It's just the most asinine thing I've ever seen to where they're looking at locating that courthouse. Yeah,
and we're hearing rumblings that they're already coming to a contract pretty much agreed on for the old Grubbs Marketplace, the old Quiznos,
Yeah, I've heard that very same thing too.
But we've also heard there's 3 or 4 property owners back there that's not going to sell come hell or high water.
No, they're not. And that's going to hold up the process as far as the eminent domain process goes. I don't think there's grounds, in my opinion, for eminent domain.
No, not when they got land out there.
That's not the way eminent domain works. When they've got other available property, you know, that's got to be the last straw when it comes to eminent domain. They have nowhere else to go.
Well, in the city of Gainesville found that out when they went after your brother.
Yeah.
And the county don't want to go down that route. I mean, it could be, if they do that, it could be 8 to 10 years before this is resolved.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a court proceeding, and a couple of the individuals I've talked to that are going to be the holdouts, you know, they have the money to fight, and I'm sure they'll have good attorneys fighting for them. So this is going to be a long, drawn out process if they proceed down that avenue with the location of the courthouse.
And then what nobody else is talking about is the longer they wait, the more that courthouse is going to cost to build.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you just look at some of the schools that the Board of Education held off on building because of inflation, the prices, it didn't come back down. I mean, it's not going to come back down.
No, and it's not into the relatively near future. I don't see it anyway. I don't think they'll ever be back where they were. I just don't see it.
You know, and that 150 million that they claim is just a pipe dream if they're going to try to build over on the square. They might get it under 150 if they build out on Browns Bridge. Not.
Yeah, they can't. I don't think that they're going to be able to even come close with the budget there and or anything like that. I mean, you know, people use the excuse, well, you know, it's going to hurt the downtown square business. Well, it's like comments I've read. Well, I served on jury duty, and is it where the courthouse is right now, and you get 30 minutes. Well, you don't have time to walk down the street to get something to eat and get back.
No.
So you can't sell the scenario that they're going to have places to eat or anything like that, because that's just not the way that works.
Yeah. Well, the last time I was on jury duty, we had an hour most every day, but hell, we couldn't even go to the Collegiate or to Atlas Pizza or anywhere to eat and come back.
Well, you got to understand everybody else is eating at that same time also.
Exactly. So,
you know, it's virtually, to be honest with you, virtually impossible.
Well, we just told the damn bailiff that was looking after the jury room, we pitched in $5-10 a piece, said, here, you just go get us something, you know.
Yeah.
We'll just eat here.
Right.
And you know, and if that's the case, they can put a Chick-fil-A or a Arby's or whatever the hell they want into the bottom of the courthouse over there.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about they could do that. And it's just that is just a terrible, terrible
excuse, you know.
Yeah, excuse to put the courthouse there. Gainesville wants it there because they're going to benefit of having a parking deck built at the county's cost. But you got to understand, if they locate it out on Browns Bridge, the county's still got to build a parking deck.
Right.
I mean, they'll have to.
Yeah.
Where the screw up,
still in the city of Gainesville.
Yeah. Where the screw up was made was when they allowed the sheriff's building to go out there on the county campus. That should have went down to the jail where it was initially planned to be built at. The site is already padded down there. So that's technically where the sheriff's office should have been down off Barber Road versus over there on that campus, because that sheriff's building took up a tremendous amount of valuable, usable space over there.
Yeah, and I don't see the reason for it over there either. I mean,
well, I don't either. That was a decision made after me, but it was always envisioned when I was on there, when we built the jail, that it would go down to where the jail was built. There's a site already padded out there for it. Right. So, and the parking was already there. I don't think it matters where the sheriff's main office is, whether it's, you know, nothing says that it has to be in the city. Okay. Right. In the city limits. So it was kind of, you know, to me, it would have made more sense to have had it down at the jail. When you look at the feasibility of, you know, if an investigator's got to go over and talk to somebody, well, he ain't got to get in the car and drive. He just walked right across the parking lot pretty much. Right. So I don't know how that got built over there. I know, and they built it officially because they built it with inmate labor. They saved a lot of money building that building by doing what they did. It was just the wrong location to put it. It took a valuable piece of property that we had purchased at the government center, and that could have been located the sheriff's building could have been located, really anywhere in the county.
Right. Now, all right, let's get into the Board of Education at large with Susan and Joe England. Susan ended up with 33% of the vote. Joe England, 44% of the vote. And this cat come out of nowhere. I know he was on the Flowery Branch City Council 15 years. Taught at Cherokee Bluff and Flowery Branch, or C.W. Davis for 26 years. Him winning Flowery Branch and all that, that's one thing. But here his cat he's pulling in votes all over the county. North Hall, East Hall, West Hall. I mean, Susan kept up with him, but I just don't see.
I don't know him. Never met him. I think a lot of that race had to do with he was first name on the ballot, and that can portray a lot of things. Having your name being the first one on the ballot.
Well, there's a lot of places that have
now Susan, for instance, I know how hard she's worked to be on the school board. She's gone to, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years worth of school board meetings.
She's missed 2 meetings.
She might have missed 1 or 2. She's done her homework. She comes out of the educational field also. She's very, very qualified for that position. She knows what's going on with the Board of Education. To me, sometimes I just feel like the people on the Board of Education, nothing but a rubber stamp to, whatever the superintendent says go. I always liked it back in the old days because, guys, I'm old enough to remember this. We used to vote in our school superintendent. Do you understand? They were elected, and they didn't have to be an educator. They didn't have to be this. They didn't have to be that. They didn't, and we had some very, very good people that were elected into those positions. C.W. Davis comes to mind, an excellent superintendent. We had some great superintendents back in those days. I think nowadays, this day and time, how they have to run a school system and everything creates a lot of problematic headaches. They're bound by too many state laws and federal laws. And if we could get back to the kind of the old way of doing things, it would be great with me. But as far as that goes, no. I had Susan sign in my yard. There'll be another Susan sign in my yard coming up for this race also, because I believe she's done her homework also.
Well, and I love her to death. She's done a great job just as a citizen going and holding the Board of Education accountable for many things. And the board don't mess with her. When they know when she stands up and talks, she's got her numbers right. She's got her.
Well, they know they got a hard question they got to deal with.
Right.
And that's what I like. Us as board members are going to have to be put under the, part of you got to be put under the gun sometimes. You're going to have people out there that's going to do their homework research, and you got to listen to them.
Right. And don't get me wrong, everybody can't think Susan's going to go in there and just be a bull in the china shop if she does get elected.
No, and I don't think she'll operate that way.
No.
I think she'll bring some clarity to the meetings because she's just one vote, and she's obviously not going to change everything around. She's not, but she can bring some things, I think, to the board that, that they will listen.
And I think she'll bring something that's missing. She wants conversations to be had, not just Schofield, I nominate so-and-so, or I think we need to do this. And then it's 5-0 or 4-0, unanimous vote. And that won't happen with Susan. She's wanting to be more transparent and ask questions and, hey, why are we doing this? Well,
and I think that's, I think that if people are tired of what they're paying in school taxes, I think that that's the way they need to go. They really need to seriously consider her for this position. Just to be honest with you, I think they really need to consider it.
Yeah, I feel like this election's kind of like brought that to the forefront. Is so many people complain about taxes, wasteful spending, and all this stuff. Yeah, you had 13% turnout for voting out here in Hall County, which is just, wild to me. But our younger generation has got to do a better job too of actually showing out and coming out and voting. So,
no, I totally agree, and that's a big thing. Tyler is, I don't know how much younger how old is Tyler?
I think he's like 38, maybe.
I figured he was a little older than
Maybe
that.
42. He's 38.
Yeah. I think he's the youngest I think he was the youngest of the three of us.
By far, yeah.
And in regards to point, if Shannon gets elected, I'll be behind him, 100%. Just as even if he ends up running against the independent, I'll be behind him. Because I think these guys, they understand. I just think Tyler's got the game. He had the game up on both of us as far as knowledge and really what was going on. Sometimes he gets a little too technical about things, and he's over people's heads. But he's like he told me, he's kind of a nerdy guy about stuff like that. But he'll learn through the process. I think he understands what's going on with the budgeting process also. And that's the biggest eye opener as to what you got to dig into is the budget and know where the skeletons are. And I can help either one of them as far as, hey, you need to be looking at this, you need to be looking at this, you need to be looking at this, because it's just not all about the growth issues. It's the general amount of money the county is spending. And, it's like they splosh. Back when I was in there, you were lucky if the splosh brought in the money that you estimated. Now the splosh is bringing in more money than what was estimated. So what are they doing fiscally responsible with that extra money? I know it can only be used on projects that were approved in the splosh.
Or to pay down debt.
Yeah. So, but are they being fiscally responsible about it? We got a lot of major road work that needs to be done. I think it's tremendous amount of road work that's got to be done. White Sulphur Road is just a mess coming in out of Gainesville city limits because Gainesville don't want to put any.
And it's getting worse too with this port, and they think it's not going to get better. Yeah,
and I don't think yet. It's going to take months for us to see the impact of what the port's going to have on traffic in that area. 365 is a dangerous road up through there, and the state's going to have to make some major improvements with that. I know Tyler's been talking with the DOT about a turn signal at 52 and 365. And I just can't believe there's not one there already, a left turn signal if you want to go north or south on 365. That's kind of ridiculous at a major, humongous intersection like that,
Oh, yeah, and I'm surprised Drew hadn't had something done up there at the Eccles. That place is dangerous as hell even too.
Well, they fixed that a little bit up there, I think, when they put the XL lane in now if you're turning, coming out of there and getting over to the left-hand side and coming back south, they put that XL lane in just like they did at Athens Street.
Right.
I think that's helped the scenario up there accident-wise, I was driving up 129 the other day and I said, hey, I'm sitting here thinking, I come to the intersection down here at Holly Springs Highway where Al Cain's is located at, and, it's just right over here. And, it was just a maze of trying to cross the road there with traffic coming southbound to turn left onto Holly Springs Road, then people not knowing what to do coming out from Holly Springs Road. So I'm sitting here thinking a traffic light would definitely solve this situation.
Right.
But then, they talked about putting a roundabout there, and I'm going, well, I even got to thinking about this. I said, well, a roundabout would be better than nothing. Would be better than nothing. So we got to have something there to slow the traffic down on 129. There's 3 intersections through that pass, virtually what I call Claremont, that are very, very, very extremely dangerous intersections. But there's more wrecks down at on the north end up here and at Alkane's than there is at Clarksbridge Road. I think we're averaging probably about 1 a month at Clarksbridge Road, probably 2 a month down here at this, and up here in White County, which is, I don't even go, when I leave my house now, I don't go to Cleveland that way. I have a street called Oxford Road crossing the house that I come out and run over and hit 129. Yeah, it's a little longer, but I don't got to worry about getting killed at the intersection up there on the north end.
Right.
So then that's state issues that they've got to deal with. I mean, that has something that's been going on for years and years and years. But I think that to get the change and to get and for the people's voice to be heard, we got to definitely make that change in the commissioner down in South Hall.
Well, and the main, and Veryl and I, we had talked about this before, and we hit on it too, Steve, when we talked personally. It's not just that the three amigos vote together, it's just that how they, especially Kathy, will flat lie to your face and then vote against you in the meetings. Like with Greg on several things, she said, look, I'll vote the way you want you vote. You don't have to worry about it. Then you get to the meeting and then she kicks in, it gets kicked right in the groin.
Well, we had a lot more when I was on there. I think we had more respect for the district commissioners. I didn't usually nuddle into very much in what would be going on in District 1, 2, and 4. I mean, those people are elected to represent those districts, and they should take the heat, you know, from their constituency to what they approve. I just don't really, what I don't see is I don't see a respect, especially in Greg's case. Me knowing what he tried to do and things he tried to get accomplished, I just didn't see any respect out of the other 3 commissioners within regard as to what he thought that the people who elected him and what he thought they wanted him to do. And I just didn't see it. I have not seen that. And everything seemed to be in those cases on the development stages. And that's bothersome to me, you know.
Right. Oh yeah, that's crazy. I just don't see how you can have that much disrespect. I mean, and that's what one thing, I don't think Mark could do that. Personally, no. I mean, and I think
no, and I would hope not. And if he does, you know, I'm gonna be the first to send him a message and give him a phone call. Hey, bud, you know, you told us this. You know, I think he'll toe the line. You know, and I think any commissioner in this county's worried about. They got to worry about the people that try to influence everybody in this county. I don't see Tyler being influenceable at all. I don't think Mark will be influenceable, and I don't really think Shannon would be influenceable. There's just certain things where you pick your battles and your fights, and that's what you run with. They always have the option, if they don't like what they do to them in a meeting during a commission time, to chastise them and question them out as to why they voted that way. And that's something you're going to see. I used to do it all the time. And that's something that I would have done if I was elected again. I mean, I think I was the last person that was running for this district that any of the sitting 3 commissioners wanted to see elected. I would just tell you that right now, because one of them especially knows how I operate. And I think the other 2 got a pretty good idea how I would have operated. You just can't take, and I mean, my point in case is you don't take the bullshit from them. Okay?
Yeah.
You put it back on them. And you do that in a personal meeting. And if you want to call that humiliation or whatever, there's nothing wrong with asking a fellow commissioner, I want to know publicly why you voted that way. Give me a reason. So that's what you got to do. It's not going to be easy. And if Kathy gets reelected, you know, unfortunately, Shannon or Tyler is going to be facing the same thing that Greg faced for 4 years. I feel that way.
And I know, and I honestly believe Tyler will go back to calling them out. I mean, I just think he's that type of person because he's sick of it.
Well, I would think so. And I think, you know, Shannon wasn't on the planning commission long enough to really get a good idea of, you know, how he would be on the planning commission. But I think there was a couple occasions that some things went on in the District 3 area that he did question and kind of call out while he was on the planning commission. I'll give him that. And I feel like he'd do the same thing. I have nothing wrong. There's both guys are fine, upstanding people. I just got to vote for the person I feel like that has done the homework and really gets it. And I think, Tyler gets what's going on.
I do too. And the one reason against me, and I know Viral and I both, how many times have we reach out to Shannon's campaign and Shannon himself to try to come on the podcast?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No response. And he finally responded to me like a week before the primary and said, I'm just going to pass on it. Well, you should have told us that a month and a half ago. A month ago.
Yeah, I don't see why anybody run for office would pass up an opportunity to compete in a forum or especially get on your podcast. You guys are not sitting here. You may not like the person you're talking to at all, but you're not coming across with that fact and way. You're giving them actually an avenue to get their point across. And I think what y'all do is a great thing. It reaches a lot of people. I would never pass up an opportunity for a forum. Now, one thing I guess I'm a little concerned with, I'm trying to figure out why the chamber has decided to hold a forum with commission candidates only. I can't remember ever really when the chamber has done this. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with why they all decided to do a forum. And what surprises me is just the commission candidates. It's not the school board members or anything like that. And so that don't make any sense to me. So I'm trying to figure out why the chamber is trying to stick their nose into the politics, which they're very involved in the politics, but I can't remember the last time. I can't really remember when the chamber's ever done anything like what they're doing right now.
And they've not put out a format or anything. They just said it's going to last from 6 to 8. I mean,
yeah. And so I don't really understand the reasoning behind that. Matter of fact, if I was a candidate, I'd probably look more about not going to that forum than I would any of them. Because I just don't understand what their reasoning is behind I don't understand what their agenda is.
Right. The only thing I can remember the chamber getting involved in is trying to get SPLOST passed.
Well, yeah, and they're the people who technically promote SPLOST for the county, because the county's not allowed to legally go out there and right. Campaign, spend money for SPLOST or buy signs or anything like that. That's a no-no, very big no-no. Matter of fact, commissioners, it's really questionable. It's where sitting commissioners should say they support it or they don't. I mean, really, because the law is very clear on that. Well, I'm just trying to figure out, why is the chamber doing this?
See, Zack got into that too. He'd go to all these communities and talk about passing SPLOST and everything.
Yes, and I felt like, they had one up here in Claremont, and
that's crossing the line.
I really questioned the legality of them being able to do that, because there's an administrator out there, it's your highest administrator in the county, and they're out there pushing this. They were pushing the transportation SPLOST tremendously at that point in time. And I had some questions at that meeting. Greg was there too. Greg was pushing it and everything. And I'm going like, I started to say, well, kind of what y'all are doing here at this meeting's, to my understanding, is illegal. You're not supposed to be doing this.
And then here's Zack out there telling everybody, well, you either pass it or we're raising your property tax.
Yeah, and that's not his decision to say, and that's not a county administrator's job to say, because it puts the commissioners in a very, very bad situation when you've got somebody.
He says it at the board meetings all the time. We ain't got no choice. We'll raise your property tax.
Yeah, and that's a threat. That's always been a threat with SPLOST. Now, which I'm going to be honest with you, there's no doubt about it. splosh holds our taxes down. I don't think there's any doubt in their mind it does. But another evil part about it is it just gives such a big nest egg for them to spend money on without being
held
I mean, I look at
accountable.
some of this. I look at some of the schools that are being built, and I'm going, my God, these things they're beautiful. You know, schools to me, I shouldn't be looking at them saying that they're beautiful. I should be saying, was this really necessary? And is this, you know, could we not done something cheaper? Could we not done something cheaper? Just as functional.
Yeah, those fancy buildings don't make your kids learn more.
No,
don't make your kids learn better.
I drove by North Hall the other day. That new 3-story building or 4-story building they put up there. It's a good looking building, and I know North Hall needed more class space and everything. Could it have been built cheaper? Well, when I look at the building, it's I wouldn't call it fancy. It kind of has the facade look. It's what the new gym and everything that was built over there has. So I really can't complain. I mean, it's not got no big columns out front and, you know, and things like that, you know.
Right.
So I think it's just being good stewards of the money and building a functional building is the key thing to what we need to do as elected officials. I mean, I know people have visions of what a courthouse needs to look like. Well, their vision of what a courthouse needs to look like, what my vision of what a courthouse needs to look at are two different animals.
Yeah.
You know,
like
I mean, I'd build a courthouse to look like the jail, probably.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. I mean, just something to do. Like
Filled up concrete cast type stuff, and
yeah,
you know.
Now, what these idiots do in Forsyth County, they built the Taj Mahal over there, and they can't even use the damn thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they can't use it for official government business, from what I understand.
They can't hold meetings in it. They can have their offices and everything there, but they can't hold meetings in it. Now, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. You know, when we bought the Liberty Mutual complex and we stole it, we got it for $6.5 million with 39 acres of land. It was only tax digested, nearly $12 million. We only ended up paying about $6 million for it, a little under $6 million, because Liberty Mutual leased it back for a year. And we knew damn well that we weren't going to be able to move everything over there in a year anyway. It was going to take coordination and everything to get everything moved. And people question, well, that's not in the city limits. Well, hell yeah, it's in the city limits, or I never would have bought it not being in the city limits. It was in the city limits.
Right.
And of course, people in Gainesville got mad. Well, you didn't build it downtown. Well, there's no room to build it downtown.
There wasn't room back then.
And we need a campus that we can grow on. People have told me that's the best decision they can ever remember being made by the commission, was the purchase of that facility. And I still believe it's the best decision, and it's gonna help this county years out with what can grow and expand down there.
Yeah. Now, one thing that we, once we get into the fall and back in the next year, before we go, why are they rushing? Me and Vero talked about it a little bit last time, and I want to get your opinion on it. Why are they rushing this UDC with no county administrator? Possibly 2 seats going to be replaced on the commission. We know one's going to be replaced, possibly 2. Can't they come up with like a mediated type of deal to where?
No, it's getting their agenda across. Now, if Kathy wins, you'll probably see some of this process slow down a little bit. But I think if she wins, we're going to see a lot of things shoved. If she loses, we're going to see a lot of things shoved through in the next 5-6 months.
Yeah.
Not to say that anything can't be changed. You got to understand, the UDC code and the comp plan is nothing but a plan. You can change it. You can change it in a meeting. Just takes 3 votes. You can kick it out and say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. That can be done. That's just a guide. And that's what I'm saying. People take that too seriously because that thing is so generic. There's things in that thing that's not going to apply to certain situations. And I think that's what we're seeing with the one we have right now. Do I expect a big change? Do I expect to see a big change in the density of what they've got right now under this UDC, this new one, if they get it through before the end of the year? No. That's going to have to be changed if we get a change on the commission. And it can be changed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Steve. I feel like we're going to see a lot of stuff getting pushed through in the last few months if she loses this upcoming runoff.
Well, I told a gentleman the other day, and he said, well, what are we going to do with this property we bought if the courthouse doesn't go there? And I said, well, it's called surplus property. You sell it. So that's what you do.
It makes sense to do that.
Well, I know, but it don't make sense to buy it in the first place, especially if there's going to be a change of leadership on the commission. But they're going to drive and push toward that anyway. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But it's just like I told this individual, hey, if they don't put it there, it's called what we call surplus property. Somebody else will come in and buy it.
Yeah.
You may not get what you paid for it, but you will. The Grubbs Market part is part of that part, my understanding, was acquired or is being acquired. Or if it's not already acquired, I don't know. They don't seem to tell you anything. That's part of the new parking deck plan. And whether the county's going to proceed with building that parking deck there, whether the courthouse is there or not, would be the most stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Right.
But we never know.
Yeah, and then the city's supposedly building a parking deck over there next to those new apartments at the old jail anyway.
Well, no, this parking deck is going to be utilized for those apartments, because this parking deck is taking up where the Gainesville Paint Center, Carpet Place was, the Grubbs Market, all that. So you got to look at the proximity that is to those apartments. I'll tell you one thing needs to stop. We need to quit building apartments. I don't think we need any more. I heard the other day we were only running at a 33% occupancy rate in every apartment that's been built in the last 4 or 5 years in Gainesville. 33% to me would not get it from an investment standpoint, So I don't think we really, and that's up to Gainesville to decide, because that's where the majority of it's gone. But I think Gainesville's sick and tired of it also. They created an issue in the downtown area that's never, ever going to be corrected. Ever.
Well, and I knew from the get-go when they built that high-dollar apartment complex that the Ivesters moved into and everything. I can't even remember what it's, the Everett or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
They'd be lucky to sell. People's not going to pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month to live on the square.
Trying to get the wrong demographic into downtown Gainesville, which it's not here. So
yeah, no, it's not here. No.
Mm-mm.
And it's never going to be here unless we grow a immense amount, And all right, well, last thing I want to get your opinion on, Steve, is I know we've all got speculations, but what's going on with this rumors we keep hearing that Zack was forced out, he didn't really resign, and he's getting severance pay, and all the county commissioners, why are they not speaking about it? They're all saying basically this is classified information. We can't talk about it.
Well, to me, with him already gone, it's beyond a personnel issue. Anything that's discussed there should be public now as to what they did and everything. I really don't know. I've heard that he was forced out. I've heard he decided on his own. I've heard he got a severance package. I've heard he didn't. If he resigned, I can't see. If he resigned, he resigned. He turned in the resignation.
Right.
I don't understand why he would get a severance package.
And his severance was $300K. That was in the contract.
Whatever his salary was for a year, that was in the contract. Which, first thing is, I would never approve of a contract like that. There's just no way. Right. You know what I'm saying? No. I'm not going to approve a contract like that. I think where Zack got in trouble at, to be honest with you, I had an old commissioner tell me this one time, a guy that served, and he said, let me tell you something. He said, you got 5 suckers. They all need to be the same color. You can't have 3 red ones and 2 green ones. So everybody's got to be treated the same. And I think that's where Zack failed at personally. I'm not saying that he failed because if 3 commissioners tell you to do something, you technically, have to do it. But you need to make the other 2 commissioners aware of what's going on. Okay, hey, I've got 3 commissioners that came to me and said they want me to do this. Well, you got 3 that's already said it, then you kind of got to do it. And I think that was a lot in his case, from the scenario. His major thing was he did not keep Greg and David up to date on what was going on. He was just doing it without even talking to him about it. And to me, I wouldn't have somebody working for me like that. I would hound them every meeting till they left.
Right. And there's a lot of turnover under him too, for nobody knows why. I heard there's mistreatment. He was one way in public and heavy-handed behind the scenes. And, when you got
I've never had anybody ever speak favorably that worked for the county of him, but I've never had anybody really talk negative either.
Negative about it. Yeah.
I've known Zack Propes since he was a small boy. He's my son's age. And, as far as an individual and a person, I like him. I just think he was in over his head. I really do believe he was a little in over his head. And there's nothing wrong with telling another commissioner, hey, or 3 commissioners, hey, I got to talk to the other 2 commissioners about that. And I think that's, even though they might not want the cat out of the bag or whatever, but his job, part of his job responsibility is to treat all the suckers the same way. Do you understand? Right. And I think he did not do that. Now, as to why he resigned, I don't know if he was forced out or whether maybe he just saw handwriting on the wall that he didn't like.
Right.
It's better to resign than to be, technically you could be fired from your job. That doesn't look good on anybody's resume. But if he resigned as to why he's receiving severance, that I don't understand.
Right.
And I haven't found out anything from, anybody on the commission, Greg or David, because technically that's the only 2 that I really ever talked to, as to whether he was paid a severance or not. And I have not really come down and asked that question. You could file an open records request, I believe, and get that information. They would have to give it to you, because right now it's not really a discussion for executive session.
Right.
Because it's done.
Yeah, it's over with.
They're not in there talking about him anymore. So
right.
Then they'll be talking about some other staff and what they're going to do. I don't think they need to hire anybody else in that position right now until the commission is seated into who we know we're gonna have on there. I think they would be doing the taxpayers a justice by waiting on doing that. I mean, my God, they've got the guy filling in seems John seems to be quite capable of handling this for a while. They've got another assistant county administrator. Hell, we only had 2 people there. We had a county administrator and assistant county administrator. Hell, they got 3 or 4 lawyers on staff now. I don't know why they need that.
Well, that's an outside law firm.
Yeah, well, it's got to be costing a hell of a lot more money what it cost us to have a firm to handle it like we did in our days.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of waste there. I hope who's elected starts really. The growth is an issue, but you got all the other stuff going on that are just the big issues. And the budget's one of them. The staffing, oh my God, what we pay people, is.
That's one thing Tyler's harped on, is he's always said, a lot of people think he's anti-SPLOST, which he is to an extent because of how the county wastes money. He said, if we can get the county spending under control and stop the waste.
Yeah, he's told me the same thing. And it's like I stated earlier. The problem with SPLOST is it's like sticking a cookie jar out there and you don't look at you're just not being held, you know, it just leads to things to where you're not looking at everything like you need to look at it. Just because you got it doesn't mean you need to spend it. Okay. And that's the way I look at it. Just because you have it don't mean you spend it. I mean, I'm all in favor of giving taxpayers rebate on their property taxes. I was told that there's over 200 positions in the budget that are budgeted in our budget that never get filled. So I'm going, well, why is there 200 positions in the budget? I'm not saying you got to roll back to millage rate. You know what Kemp's doing, for instance. Yeah, they cut the taxes in Georgia some this year. But when Kemp gives out that $250 or $500 check or whatever he's sending out, that's a rebate. I think Hall County could do the same thing. Hey, we took in more money than what we really need. Our reserves look good. Okay, let's rebate people back. And I'm talking about only personal property owners. I'm not talking about businesses. Right. I'm talking the people like me that pay, and you involved. We pay property taxes.
Right.
So I think that's something definitely if you looked at. I think they'd be well within the law to do that.
Yep. Well, I appreciate your input, Steve, and your wisdom. You know, anything else you want to add before we get off?
No, I'll be happy, you know, to come on again as we get further down the road to talk about how we think this might act out, you know, or how it's going to come about after the, you know, after we have the runoff elections, and even through November if we have to. Oh, we got a lot of, you know, I'm hoping that we get a decent turnout because of the Senate race and the governor's race. I'm hoping we get a turnout in this that we normally wouldn't have. You know, we could be in a situation to where we could have a governor running like Kemp did that didn't have any opposition Republican primary, or you could have had a lieutenant governor running to have the opposition, or you could have had senator might not have been up at that time. Maybe that'll drive this up to where we'll get at least 15% of the vote out. I'm hoping in the runoff.
Steve, are you publicly endorsing Tyler and Mark for the runoffs?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I am. And it's nothing.
I just needed that on record before I start.
Yeah, it's nothing against Shannon at all. I just saying I couldn't count how many times that in the last 3-4 months that Tyler and I didn't talk at least 2 days a week. And we talked about issues, you know, and getting feedback from each other. And I would have welcomed for Shannon to have done that. I mean, I tried to talk to him a couple times, and all of a sudden, and everything went well with him. And then all of a sudden, he just quit talking. And that you know, it kind of bothered me a little bit. And I think Shannon's done the homework. I think he understands it. He gets it. He understands what's going on, and I think he'll do a great job for this District 3. I think Mark's got to have the benefit out of the doubt. I think we know, God bless, I mean, bless her heart, I think I know what I'm going to get if Kathy's reelected. With Mark, I really don't know, but I'm looking at the best outcome. And Mark's, you know, my dealings with Mark is that, you know, what little I've met him and what little I've talked to him, he's been a nice guy to me and everything, you know.
Well, I think a lot of people, they bring up this, oh, well, he took the same money as the swamp does. Well, everybody that accept more than $2,500, they got donations from the same people.
Well, I could have raised a lot more money than what I raised. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You know, you're going to get money from people sometimes that, just because you take money from them doesn't mean that you are in bed with them or you owe them a favor. I always tried to stay away from what I call the influential people in my campaigns because I didn't want to be held accountable. I think when I ran my first commissioner's race, I spent, you know, you're starting square one. I spent, you know, I had to run through a Democratic party because I had a Democrat running against me. I spent a total of $11,000 now, which that's years ago. Okay. But what helped me this point in time is that I didn't really have to spend a lot of money on signs because I had kept my campaign signs since 2001. So I've been holding big signs down there. They had District 3 on them. Some of them said chairman, where I had a sticker of them. I just peeled that sticker off and it said District 3 again.
Right.
So the signage is the biggest part of the campaign. And of course, I think it's the best thing you can have out there in a campaign, but I didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on signs because these signs, these 3x4 signs are, depending on the material you get them out. If you get them out of the thick material, which we call a 10 mil, it's like $90 a piece.
Right.
So, I had 38 of those, roughly 38 of those out, and I didn't have to spend that money. So that's why I was able to run such a low budget campaign. I spent money with Glory Radio on ads, and I'll tell you why, because I think that there's people that listen to that show every day. Probably, I would say somewhere in the targeted area, 1,500 to 2,000. It's primarily in this district that listen to it avidly. I spent, money with him. I didn't spend any more money with the paper. I didn't spend any more money with WDN or anything like that. So, the point in case is the way you run the campaigns now a lot different. I never sent out mailers I don't think I ever sent out a mailer when I ran for a campaign. Even when I ran against Higgins, I don't know how much money Higgins spent against me. That was a very, very low budget campaign countywide for me. So I don't think you get it done with mailers and text. Things that annoy people don't help you.
No.
And the text messages that I've gotten, I just hit stop. Regardless, and I'm still getting stuff from Rick Jackson. Not as much, because they just hook up another number and text you. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But yes, as far as I'm concerned, I think that to get a real big change in the county, and I think we would have a change if Shannon got elected too. I just look at is how hard Tyler's got out there and done his homework.
He deserves this seat just by the work he's put in.
He's put it in. He's put it in. I'll tell you, he's put it in. And I mean, he's done it the old fashioned way. And that's what I admire as to what he's done. Now he's probably going to have to adjust his campaign, because now if he's going to spend more money, because I'm sure he's up to the maximum amount of money he can spend. So he may have to readjust that. I talked with him about that the other day. And of course, that's no problem for him to do. If he raises money, he wants to do some ads or a mailer or whatever. But I got to tell you, the mailers that went out on him, though, I said, I don't see they hurt you. And I would hope nobody would use that against him, having a pack behind him, because he didn't control whether they behind him or not. So I don't want to hear from anybody out there, well, he got PAC money. Well, that's not the case. He didn't ask for PAC money. That's how PACs work.
Yeah.
He didn't condone it.
Where did Tyler spend his $50,000? I said he didn't get that money.
Well, see, they took everything they put on the flyers is exactly what he had said and campaigned on.
And on his website.
And what he was involved in. And just stuck it on a flyer. Now I gotta admit, it looked good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't want people saying that he's got a big PAC supporting him, because that he didn't have a choice in that matter.
No, they could have easily come out bashing him.
Yes, and that's the other thing. Yes, they could come out and bash you. Now, why they picked him over Shannon and me, because my understanding is they picked Kathy too. My understanding is there was 12 commissioners across the state of Georgia they picked out, and Kathy was one they picked out also.
Right.
So I how they picked them out or decided, I have no idea.
Especially Tyler. I mean, he's not known outside of District 3 for the most part. So
well, it really surprised me. I don't know what the incentive behind. I really never saw what the incentive behind was on the flyer, because the flyer is totally stated not approved by candidate or the candidate's campaign committee.
Right.
It clearly stated that on the flyer. And
we're gonna have Tyler on Friday, so
yeah.
We're gonna
Well,
get
maybe he can rectify how all that came down.
Because
I
he's
talked to him.
got-
I talked to him a little bit about it, and
from what I understand, he's talking to 10 or 11 of the 12 people that they targeted. So he's got a pretty good feel on.
well, I think he even contacted the state ethics commission on about what could be done about it, because they went out and he didn't approve it. And I guess I think he found out that it doesn't matter whether he approves it or not. They can do what they want to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey guys, I appreciate everything y'all do for the community. Viral, it's been nice knowing you. I mean, really talking to you, getting to know you too.
Yeah, you too.
And I wish you the best of luck in whatever you decide you want to do. I'll support you 100%.
I
Really.
appreciate it.
I really would. So, but anytime, we'll talk anytime. Maybe we can talk after the runoffs, and maybe we'll know a little bit more then of how we think things may go.
And we'll
Yeah,
see
and I
how-
think having you back on after the runoff, I think it'd be good to kind of recap what's going on and then starting to look forward as to.
And and there's rumors out there that if Shannon gets the vote, then Gina's going to drop out, and they're going to put
That's
the
me.
vote
That's me.
behind.
That's
Shannon
my
and-
rumor that I started. I'll full responsibility.
Well,
on that one.
I don't see that. I don't really personally. I don't see that happening, because I think you can look at Gina's campaign contribution report and see who's putting the money behind her.
Right.
And I think that tells a lot, and that'll be something that'll come out later on if she gets the signatures. I mean,
We've got till July 13th, I believe.
yeah, and we'll know July the 13th whether she's going to be in there or not. Then we'll start dealing with her situation after July the 13th. I don't see her backing out of this from the money that I've seen who's contributed to her campaign.
Right.
Well, you got the Hunt and Richard Higgins. That's it. Just three.
Yeah. And I would have been, to me, if I'd have been her, I don't need any damn money right now. You understand?
Yeah.
I would have waited till I got my signatures before I would have needed money, because I don't know what she's spending money on right now. Why in the hell would you spend money when you don't have the signatures? Because you've got from July to whenever to raise money after that.
Right.
I think even if she gets on as an independent, she's got an uphill road to do that.
There's a lot of people out there that won't vote for you just because you don't got an R beside your name.
That's exactly, and really, to be honest with you, I think in this county that's pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I think it's very prevalent. Now, she may get some Democratic vote by running as an independent. She could possibly. I think that's another thing we saw in this election too. You didn't see Democrats crossing over voting in the Republican primary because they had too many people to vote for. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In their Democratic races. So we didn't see the infiltration of the Democrats voting, in the Republican primary.
Right. Well, they didn't, I don't think, but like 30% of the Democrats turned out anyway. I mean, it was real low.
Well,
Countywide, and that party's been a shambles since Bill Chandler gave it up, years ago.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It ain't been the same since. And
No. And Bill's, I think the world ought to Bill. Bill's a good man. I don't criticize him because he's a Democrat or anything like that. I mean, everybody's got a right to feel the way they want to.
right.
I just know that I'm just ultra conservative, but I'm not so conservative that I can't smell the coffee. And what I mean is there's some things, and Gina's right, very seldom we ever vote on anything on the commission that has anything to do with partisan politics. But I think that people should know, really, to me, running as independent, you could fly either way. That's what I look as an independent. I can go this way or that way. And I think that Libertarian Party's having a hard time too. Candidates dropping out in these races because they can't get the 1% of the signatures. If you ran in a previous race where you got 1% of the vote, you automatically didn't have to worry about that. But the Libertarians are facing the same thing as the independents do, is the percentages of the votes that they got to get. I would hate to know that if you're running countywide, the signatures you got to get, and the way you got to get the signatures to run as independent. And I think Gina has found out that people just don't call you and walk up to you wanting you to sign this. You physically, she's got to do it herself. It's not like putting out a thing at a convenience store.
Yeah, no, I think this is exactly what the same work that Tyler's kind of put in, walking neighborhoods and going around talking to people. I don't know that too many people are going to be able to do that, including Gina.
No, but he's done the work. I mean, he has really done the work. He probably needs to do a little bit more work in East Hall, of trying to get over in that area. I mean,
he hit Lula the other day. He went and talked to a buddy of mine up there and gonna start.
Yeah.
Getting up there and maybe making a little inroads there. But if he can maintain North Hall and get a little bit of Lula or Gillsville or.
Yeah. I mean, they always say the person that's leading loses in the runoff because of the turnout there. People don't get back out and vote. This case may be a little bit different this year. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, Tyler's still hitting the bricks. I text with him every day, just on Messenger, just checking in and see how he's doing, and he's out there hitting the bricks.
Yeah, and he's working at it, but he's also talking issues to people, and that makes a big difference. He's not out there saying, "Hey, would you vote for me? I'm so and so." He's talking what he is. He's talking about, well, what do you think the biggest issues are in Hall County?
Yeah,
and that's where you get people entwined into your campaigning to vote for you is by doing it that way. So I think he's done an excellent job as far as that goes. I mean, it's like I said, I don't like Tyler any more than I do Shannon, but I think he's done the work and put in the work. He knows what's going on. I mean, really, he understands the system. There's going to be some tweeting. There's going to be some things. I've offered my services to him to help him with anything. If Shannon beats him in the runoff, I'll offer the same thing to Shannon if he wants to ask. Okay. So you can't be an IA coming into this. I had a little bit of government experience coming in. I was a mayor and a council member and everything in Claremont. I had dealings with the county. So I had a good idea of how the county operated when I first got elected. So I could hit the ground running pretty fast, and I did.
Right.
And it may take them a little bit more time, but I think Tyler's definitely up on where the problems are in our government and where we're seeing the problems and the miscommunication and stuff like that. And I believe that he will make the staff get friendlier with people. And that's something we lack again in this county, that our staff, I think some of them just don't give a shit about the John Q. public out there. They're not going overboard to help them solve their problems when they come in here and they've got an issue.
Right.
So I think, he understands where the problems are. And where we have the biggest problems, I think, are in the development side of the permitting and development side of Hall County, not making things clear to people what they can do and what they can't do. I had a guy call me the other day, and I'm going to have to talk to the chairman about this. He's got 2 pieces of land. He's got a 1 acre lot and a 6 acre lot, 2 separate tracts. Well, he went in to apply for a permit, and they told him, well, you're not getting a permit on this one until you do something over here on this one. Well, you can't do that. If he's got a code enforcement issue, you know what I'm saying? Make him fix the code enforcement issue, but you can't hold up his permits on a total separate lot.
Right.
That's just not the way to play things. I mean, that's ridiculous, but that's how they play the game down there. It's called blackmail. But I enjoy talking to you. My mother-in-law's driving me crazy, so I got to go take care of what she needs.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Steve.
All right, guys, and I appreciate y'all.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you later.
All right, bye-bye.